those who need it most. As a healthcare reform lobbyist and innovative CEO of Trinity Healthcare Systems, providing home-based continued healthcare, teaching families how to care for their loved ones. And most importantly, she is the first Haitian American woman to run for Congress in Broward and Palm Beach. She's a part of a national movement of women committed to taking back the House of Representatives for working families. Although she didn't win the primary, she did make history, securing 30% of the vote within 3 months from a 26-year incumbent, and only spent $30K. That's what we need, is somebody who knows how to use money wisely. She has recently announced her candidacy for the 2020 election for the United States Congress, representing Florida's 20th district. She believes that community needs real change, and that will allow families and communities to thrive. Please welcome Sheila Cherfilus McCormick to Hot Talk. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being fabulous. There you go. So now listen, that is quite a landmark. You're the first Haitian American woman to run for Congress in Broward and Palm Beach. So now tell me, what was it that moved you to say, all right, I need to step in here because my voice is needed?
Well, for the last 10 years, I've actually been advocating in Congress. I started during the Affordable Health Care Act when it was being adopted, and I literally watched all of the health initiatives start getting eroded. And it came to a point where our community wasn't having access to health care. We were getting sicker, not getting any treatment, and we were just totally being ignored. My daughter actually has a learning disability, so even trying to get help for my daughter, it's like I was knocking on doors and none of the help was coming.
Wow.
And so I finally got to a point where I said, you know what? I have to do this for the community because we're being left behind. And so from that moment, I turned from a voter to an advocate, and it just escalated. And I said, I'm going to run because change is not going to come by advocating and begging all the time. And so I think it's something that everybody's trying to get their hands on, because we're trying to understand what's going on from a healthcare perspective. We're trying to figure out what's going on from an economic perspective. And then we're trying to keep everybody sane and safe. So, I just totally believe that right now it's going to take specialized knowledge to get us out of here. And that's where we look at our district, we look at our neighborhood, and we see that Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach are actually national hotspots. And so we need to be bringing in that knowledge. How do we get out of this situation? It's not going to miraculously disappear like the president claims it will.
In April, it's just going to go away. It's May.
Right. It's going to disappear. No, it's not. And especially not for us. And so it's more imperative now than ever that we actually have a real plan of action, and we're not sitting there waiting for our economy to pick up, waiting for someone to help our small businesses. Right. Our small businesses are the foundation of our community. My parents are small business owners. I can tell you everything that I have and every accomplishment that I have made is because we were able to keep a small business going for over 30 years. Yeah. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have been able to propel ourselves to where we are now, and that's me having an education and providing an education for my family. So it's imperative that we save those communities, we save our small businesses, but it's imperative that we save our people.
Right.
When it comes down to what other communities are doing and what other people in other countries are doing, if we know that our people are dying from this disease, rapidly, more than other societies, why is there no attention being given to us? It's just like everybody else.
Yeah, and you know what? What I would offer you on that is that about maybe the beginning of the month, when the narrative changed from the elderly are the most vulnerable to Black people are the most vulnerable, and then all of a sudden it just started to fade. After the story about the funeral home, I think it was in Chicago or New York, that had dead bodies in back of a U-Haul, and they were starting to leak and smell in the neighborhood, that story started to die. And now you see this rise of this, this gun-toting, don't tread on me, wanting their rights back to be able to go out and get, get the virus and die. I don't know what it is. There's such a level of entitlement there that how dare you stop me from going out, because other people are dying. So it's set up. Now the story of all of our deaths is gone. It was good fodder for about 2 weeks. Now all we're talking about is the gun-toting crazy people in Michigan.
Because it makes me look back and say, if they feel so adamant about being able to go outside and get the coronavirus, what about us? We want to be able to live. We want to be able to live. Where are our elected officials talking, getting off? We have access to the media. Why aren't we fighting as hard to survive?
Oh,
get out there and get it. No, it becomes, and this is what angers me because, I'm in healthcare, and as a healthcare executive, I have to be on the front line with my workers. If I ain't going to work, they ain't going to work.
Right.
And that's just it. So I have to be out there working. I don't practice medicine. I have a law degree. So I come out there with my skills trying to make sure they're getting everything they need. And in my head, I'm like, I have to do something to help them. And one nurse looked at me. She said, if you want to help us, then could you please get them masks? Could you make sure they're not coming out? So that's what we do as a campaign. We come out there, we give the community free masks.
That's awesome.
I go into Fort Lauderdale all the time. I see people are not protected. Why is it okay for us to die and no one say anything about it? Why is it okay for us to say, let's open up the country in a hot spot?
Right.
This is crazy. There's no way that we can actually sit there as a community and allow this to happen. So our voices must be louder than those people who are fighting to go out there and get the disease. We have to be stronger than that. And that's going to only take us coming together and saying it over and over in those outlets. And so, all the time when we had years of the same leadership just sitting there doing nothing. This is not the time for you to be telling people to call your office. This is not the time for you to be sending letters. This is the time for you to be out there talking to the people, building up morale by showing your face and saying we deserve the same kind of treatment when other communities are dying. And, we have to really center our power and start putting our power together. Broward, Palm Beach, and Miami are very powerful. We actually hold the key for anybody trying to be elected. There are more Democrats in
Please say that again. Please just say that one more time.
We are the strongest Democratic voting bloc. Broward, Palm Beach, and Miami. The three. Yep. You're not getting elected as a Democrat if you can't swing those counties.
Right.
And we have an election coming.
Yep.
So why are we so quiet? Right. So why are we so quiet? No, if you want to get elected, you need to come save our state. I want to see us protected. There's a very clear path for us to getting passes. We have a plan to get passes. For us to get passes, you're going to have to regularize testing, which they're getting there, but they're not there yet. If you want to really get testing, you want to get where people are. You don't have it someplace where people have to drive, or there's a few where you can walk up, but we need more testing in our neighborhoods, in local places where we can get. Then you also have to make sure the people are being protected, and then we have to have an economic plan where now we're fighting to make sure we're getting those small business loans, because no one's looking at us to make sure we got the small business loan federally.
When you look at the Lakers getting a small business loan,
I have to get quiet.
Right, how are we in the same pool? And then I pulled it up, and the requirements are businesses that have 500 employees or 499 employees or less.
Right.
That makes you a small business.
Let's talk about it, right? If we talk about it, the truth is, the last 10 years I've been lobbying with different organizations. When we're sitting there putting together these bills and we're asking members of Congress to sign on to them, we spend hours crafting that. Language is everything. We think of every scenario. We think of every way. Is this going to get to the people it needs to get to? How do we do it?
Right.
So if you ask me anything, that first bill that came out, the way they wrote it, the language that was there, that was a corporate bailout. Let's stop it.
Period.
Let's stop it right now. It was a corporate bailout. Let's not say it was oversight or this time. No, absolutely not. We needed it. It should have been done the first time around. We've already seen this before. This is nothing new. In 2008, when we had issues with foreclosures, what did they do? They gave the money to the banks, and the banks gave the money to themselves. Yep. That's what they do. That has been their perpetual history. So why is it now?
And then they bailed out the airlines.
Right, you want to give the money back to the banks, the same banks who bailed themselves out, and you trust them with no oversight, no real oversight, that they're not going to bail themselves out? No. So I believe that is a failure on Congress. They should have put the language there to guarantee it was going to small businesses, but also guarantee that it's going to minority and women businesses, especially Black businesses, because we're always on the downside. We're not getting access to loans. We don't have those relationships with banks. We know there's systematic discrimination. So why wouldn't you put that language in there?
And that's another one of the myriad of reasons why it's important for us to be at the right table. If you're not, these things happen. I'd like to get your opinion on that. I don't think that either party has our interest at its core principles or mission.
Parties are controlled, and they're an accumulation of people. So the party will change when the people change. As long as we keep putting the same people there who have a stronger allegiance to the donors to the party, we will always be left behind. There's no interest. If you put people there who are interested in climbing up the party ladder, who are interested in making sure they don't shape the party donors, who do you think they're looking out for? Right. And this is where we are. We have people who've been there for years who look at this as a retirement. You know, I don't have to go to work.
Right.
I can just sit there, be good to the party, and not tell the people what's going on. But we have to start and see what's going on. We have to hold them accountable. Because there's no reason why, in this day and age, with what we're going through, that we would have our congressmen write a letter to make sure that payday lenders are included in the small business loans.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. This is when we have to realize that we need to have representation that's fighting for us continuously, especially now. This is not the first set. It is not the third set of regulations that's going on. There's going to be more stimulus passed throughout the year, throughout even the following year, because this is something that's going to be a long-term plan to come out of. So what are we going to continue to be behind, or we're going to say enough is enough? You need to prioritize us, and you need to put our name in it clearly. It should be just spelled out very clear. We can't back down from it. This is not the time to back down from it. We have to be strong and say we want this or we're not going to. This is our ask. And we can't feel ashamed to ask because there's other people who came into the country after us and they're asking.
Right.
So and why are we ashamed?
With absolutely no shame. One that is disturbing beyond all is the fact that these protesters, you know, storming courthouse and around the country, Iowa and all of the, you know, protesting that they want their rights to be able to go to the beach, etc. They are in a position to flip those states if we stop paying attention. I hear a lot, as soon as that conversation goes up, I hear a lot of people go, oh, okay, I don't have time to listen to that. Child, ain't nothing we can do about that. So why are we even talking about it? What is your answer to that?
I think you're absolutely correct. It's a distraction, and we have to understand what distractions do. Distractions kind of take us off in the path that we're in. You know, if they're more energized and they're more out there and they're getting their energy, people who feel like them and feel like, okay, I believe you and we're the same, they get more energized than us. Right. And if you even look at the airtime they're getting, how are they getting all this airtime when we still have people dying?
Yeah.
There's no reason for them to be getting all this airtime, doing all this stuff, and so we can feel like we're insignificant and we feel like it's okay. This is where we step in as a community and we start talking to each other like, listen, you better not go outside like those other people, okay?
Right.
You know, that is not us. We are not in that situation. It is very real for us right now. We have to protect ourselves until we get to that place where we start voting these people out. And I mean, silence means that you agree. That's exactly what silence is. So anybody right now who is silent on us being outside, us getting protective gear, or even designing an economic plan for us, you're agreeing with what's going on, and that's it. That's it.
So, you know, so then where do you fall? The other part is then when we do have some of our, let's just call a spade, some of our leaders just have platinum albums. And Puffy being one of them, what were your thoughts on his comments about he's holding the black vote hostage?
I think that he kind of understood the power of influencers, you know? I think that the black vote isn't being held hostage. It's just that we haven't come into the community and educated them enough to let them know how we can actually unify our power and get our votes out there and get our voices out there. Me and you have had several conversations of how it used to be back in the day and how people were organized around the community and talk to people and leave cues of what to do, who to vote for, and how to leverage ourselves as a community. We have to go back to that place where we're leveraging ourselves. We're in dire times right now. If this doesn't take us to the point where we're like, listen, your plight is my plight, we're in this together, we need to come out together, then nothing will. And I totally believe that we are there. When we're out there talking to members of the community, when we're doing food drives, when we're giving out masks, I talk to people and they tell me how they worked hard to never be in this place where they're standing online to get food, you know, but their business closed down because they didn't get that loan. Or I talk to people who are online trying to get a mask and they told me that by the time everything hit, they only had $300 in their account and they were working, paying their bills, you know, and now they're stuck here. So the community is motivated. Yeah. What we don't have is that leadership that we depended on for so long to come together and actually make our voices amplified. That's what we're lacking is amplification. And we will not get amplification if we have people who keep rolling over and giving out votes just so they can get whatever they're looking for. But this is the perfect time.
It rolls right into a conversation I watched on Roland Martin. I don't agree with him on a lot of things, but he was on fire one day. And he was talking about the Puffy situation, and he said, you know, the difference now with the people who are in power, the difference between Puffy and Harry Belafonte, for an example, is that Puffy may have 3 million followers, but when you go to the Capitol, how many of them are showing up with you? And he talked about how the whoever they are out there with them guns, have taken a page really from us and the civil rights movement. They've just bastardized it. But it is the same idea, is that no one wants mobs of people showing up and just like you said, getting all that airtime about how unjust they're being treated. So until you can do that, until we can go back to that, those 400,000, 2 million followers you have on social media mean nothing if they won't show up and stand behind you.
Correct. There's an issue with, they have influence, right? So they can plant that seed. But getting people to action is a totally different thing.
Right, you got it. And that's what he's saying. That's where we are now. We have got to get people to move. It is not enough to sit on Instagram and have these conversations and say you did something. You have got the threat of a 1 million man march showing up in D.C. has got to be real.
But that takes showing up for the community.
There you go.
Puffy can't sit behind a computer and get on there and tell everybody that. That's great. I thought about 5 minutes. But did you show up for the community?
Right.
Did you show up for the community? Have you come down there? Have you sent PPE? Have you sent masks and gloves? Have you done that? And that's what people don't get. They think they can sit behind their office and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. That's not what we need right now. I need someone who's fighting with me. Because if you're not fighting with me, if you're not seeing what I'm seeing every day, you can't understand what this really looks like. And when I see people online for 2 to 3 hours to get food, it breaks my heart. And that's what we're not seeing on the news. Why aren't we seeing that? This is how we're living now.
There's such a way that the media tells these stories. It's like a blueprint of how you tell these stories. It plays into the narrative that they want to display, and that's it. It has nothing to do with who we are as a community, what we need, what we're going. None of that. There is a playbook, and this is part of it. And, you know, Keon just really made that, the whole program that he did just has so many layers that only someone who, A, is of that life, right, would know are important. Just like keeping the level of dignity in what it is that you do. I mean, this, to your point, Sheila, is really that moment that if Black America is going to turn around and open up its feathers, you know, and show the wonder of who we are, this is it in our lifetime, I believe.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. This is the defining moment. If your life being at risk, your children, your parents, if this can't wake you up, nothing can. If you going into economic devastation can't wake you up, nothing can. But I truly believe the people I'm speaking to every single day, we are there.
Yeah.
We are so there. And it is a big shame for the media not to be covering what's going on right now and not to be shown. They'd rather show you people getting online to go to the beach than to show you people online trying to get food. Right. You know, we were giving out masks in Western Miramar, which is a more affluent area. You should have seen the line.
Yeah.
These people would have never been online asking for masks, but they have nothing. We're talking about devastation.
Well, we've got 30 million unemployed people in America. 30 million people are unemployed at this moment in America.
Not including what's going on in Florida. We're still trying to figure out how do we get unemployment.
Right. Those, you know.
We're still behind there. We're still trying to figure this out. There's no clarity. There's no real accountability. You know, I spoke to someone the other day, and she got the PPE, and they sent her an unemployment check. And she's like, how do I get this? Like, why are they still sending me checks when I tried to cancel it? This is a disorganization that we're facing in Florida. This is why the people who really are not getting it. And it's not fair. And we can't sit back and sit there and think that it's okay and, you know, this is what's going on. Absolutely not. This is the time when we have to get up and say, we paid taxes. We've done everything you wanted. We voted for everybody you wanted. When do you come and help us? And if they can't come and do it, we're not giving it. We're just not giving it.
Well, now, if that is you,
McCormick.
Thank you, is talking to you right now, how can they reach out to you?
They can reach me on my website, which is SheilaForCongress.com. We also have a text line, which is 833-751-0555. That number again is 833-751-0555. You can text Sheila Cares, and they can find out where we're giving out masks, where we're giving out food. And we also, you can just call me. You can ring me on my phone at 954-668-5358. And I always give my number because we have to be accessible. We have to be accessible to each other We have to be accountable to each other, and we have to partner to make sure that economically we're growing and we're being safe. Right. And how can we do that if we can't reach? If you can't pick up the call and be like, listen, pick up the phone and say, I'm in need. So I'm always accessible on those areas, especially by the text line.
Awesome. And running for Congress, you need to just put on your Nikes, girl, and let's make it happen.
We're ready. I mean, anybody who knows us, they know that we've been ready. We are ready. We're on the front lines every single day, and people see it. And right now, it's time for that frontline leadership so we can make sure that we are not left behind. Because I know in my heart, this is our time, and we're going to make it. We're going to take it. We're not waiting for someone to say, here, you can have it. No, we will be taking it.
I love it. Sheila Cherfilus McCormick, yes, for Congress. Thank you so much for joining me on Hot Talk. Thank you for joining me once again on Hot Talk. Always a great time to bring great minds together.